My name is Daniel Geržo. I'm a FreeBSD documentation committer. Some of you may know me as a Danger. And I hope you're gonna enjoy all the talks today. And I'm gonna start with the first one, and this is gonna be about an upcoming FreeBSD version, and that's FreeBSD 9.0. And let's get started. Okay, so first I'm gonna talk a little bit about theory, and that's gonna describe the development model of the FreeBSD operating system. So the development of FreeBSD works quite in a different way than other operating systems, but what we do is something that we call a concurrent development. And that means that we have a source tree where we perform the development, and this source tree is divided into several branches. The main development is being made in the branch that we call head or current, and from there we merge the new features and bug fixes back to the stable branches, from which are the releases being cut every now and then. So the thing is that we are trying to keep the stability of the programming interfaces of the given stable branches, and that means that every kernel module that you have on the, let's say, FreeBSD 8.1 is going to work on any other releases made from this branch, like 8.5, I don't know. So in the past we've been doing kind of feature-based releases, but we have realized that this doesn't work that good. And we switched to time-based releases. And we are trying to release a minor FreeBSD version every 5 to 7 months. And a minor FreeBSD version is something called like 7.1, 7.2, and so on. And every 18 to 24 months, we are trying to release a major FreeBSD version, which is bringing a totally new concepts or new features that are not mergeable back to the stable branches, because they break the API stability. And this is what we call a major release, and that means the release is marked like 9.0. So let's have a look how this fits into the 9.0 release. We released an 8.0 release 2 years ago, and that means that 9.0 comes about 24 months after this release. So we kind of met our goal, but the 9.0 is still not released, but I think the goal and the goal is to release it by the end of this year. Currently, we have release candidates available, the first of the 3 that are planned. And we had several betas already released. I think it was 3 of them. And I think that despite that it's a 0.0 release, it doesn't mean that it's not a production quality. Because, as I said, we switched to a time-based releases a while ago, so the things are pretty well tested. So we actually believe that once the 9.0 is released, it's ready to be used in production. And obviously, this is a 2 years worth of work of our developers. And that means that 9.0 is coming with a lot of new features and enhancements that I'm going to talk about today. So, this is the highlights of what we are bringing in the new version. Everything in the system got something new. The news are from storage area, the security area, networking areas. So I think kind of everything has some news. And let's have a look in more detail. So first of all, we've got a new system installer. Some of you may know that we had a tool that was called sysinstall to install the core FreeBSD system, but it proved that even despite that it was pretty well usable, I think it was pretty well usable, but FreeBSD gained a lot of new features during the time, and it had no maintainer, so obviously you couldn't use some of the new features like ZFS installation, or you couldn't create software rates during the installation. And this is the reason why one of our developers decided to write a new installer. The goals of this, the goals are that it's going to be easily extensible, which was actually met by writing it as a series of shell scripts. So it's supposed to be pretty easily maintainable and readable. So we hope that more people will come and write new modules. And it's still text-based, but that's kind of good thing that you because you can install the system from the serial console too. But I believe that the plan is to merge it with a PCBSD installer, which has graphical backends too, and then you're gonna get this shiny installer. So besides that, it's able to install a base FreeBSD system, it also got some new features. But the thing is that despite the goal was to bring features like a ZFS installation on root, it still is not capable of installing on root, but as far as I know, it's Pavel is working on this, and maybe it's going to be part of the 9.0 release. You are going to be able to set up wireless during the installation, and it's using modern tools which are available in the base system. It's gonna use a GPT layout on the disks and stuff like this. Okay. The next thing that we got in 9 release is UseronDTrace. We used to ship kernel dtrace from 8.0 release, and that's quite some time, but we've been missing the UseronDTrace, which is kind of pretty important. And FreeBSD Foundation was very nice to sponsor this project. And starting from FreeBSD 9, we've got the userland support for the dtrace available. And thus, our users, administrators, or developers are able to use this framework or toolset to measure some kind of performance data, or they can analyze the system bottlenecks using this tool. It's supposed to be kind of pretty cool feature. I never used it, but whatever. Yeah, but some of the pretty big projects already have some hooks for this tool. The example could be Postgres SQL and Xorg. So we actually also hope that this tool is going to be used by FreeBSD developers themselves, and that they will use it to enhance the performance of the system itself. So the next thing is that we ship the Clang and llvm compiler together as together with the base of the system. Being GCC as GPL version 3 licensed, it's a problem for BSD. The licensing of the GCC is a big problem for projects that just don't want to meet the requirements of this license. And the last GCC that was licensed with GPL version 2 was like 4.1 or 4.2 release. And thus we've got some lawyers looking at this issue. And then they decided that it's not allowed to merge code that is GPL version 3 licensed to the base system. So obviously we need a compiler that's able to compile the system and the kernel. And one of the goals is to use the Clang and llvm to compile it. Actually, it's already able to compile it, and the system is bootable and usable on the main architectures. And I believe we will have a Roman here. I don't know if it's already here, but he's gonna tell you more about this stuff. And yep. So we also has a new NFS client and server that's been kind of completely rewritten for the purpose of getting better performance and better maintainability. It's been sponsored by several companies, and it supports version 4 of NFS that's bringing some new security enhancements and better performance. It's being developed for quite a while now, so it's well tested. It's being tested in heavily environments that use heavily. And now the UFS also got the support for NFS version 4 ACLs that are being implemented in ZFS too. So the NFS stuff is very new. Okay, we've got some news on the Firewalls stuff. First of them is that PF got updated to version 4.5, and the PF is like a pretty cool packet filtering tool that comes from OpenBSD, and it was ported from OpenBSD as of version 4.1, and since then it's got a lot of new features and bug fixes, and some of our developers have managed to update it to OpenBSD version 4.5. You should check the OpenBSD release notes to get more information of what's new there. And I think we are still focusing to bring newer versions, but the problem is that they changed the configuration syntax, so it kind of doesn't fit well to FreeBSD. And together with the PF, we updated the PF scenes, which is used to synchronize to firewalls which are being used in high availability mode. I know there's some new work going on the carp side of the whole PF thing, and yeah, I hope this is going to be some nice feature to have in 9.0. Actually, IP FW, IP firewall that comes with FreeBSD's got some new bug fixes too. You can read about them in the status reports. And then we've got this have some ZFS file system in a FreeBSD that comes from Sans Solaris. It's been in FreeBSD I think since 8, even 7, and we've been shipping 8.2 with version 15, I believe. And now we updated to version 28 that brings new features like data deduplications, triple parity, or ZFS diffs. These features are pretty cool, and lots of things have been fixed. Some people believe that ZFS is now really production ready. And more on this is going to be covered by Martin over there. And with Oracle acquired the Sun, and the future is not that obvious. So Martin will cover this area. But we are actually trying to backport fixes from operating system that's name is llvm. Okay, next thing is HEST, that stands for highly available storage. It's been developed by Pavel. You may know him. He was the lead developer who ported the ZFS, and it's been founded by FreeBSD Foundation too. It's kind of network-based RAID, so it allows you to mirror two disks over the network, over the TCP/IP, and it's pretty similar to DRBD, which is available in Linux systems. And if you use it together with features that comes with FreeBSD, like carp and PF scenes, you can build a highly available storage cluster. It's a nice feature to have in FreeBSD because high availability is one of the key features in the business. So, despite it being available in FreeBSD 8, it comes with many bug fixes and new features. In 9.0, it has some support for compression of the data which is being sent over the network. It's got some checksuming of this data and got security enhancements, some configuration enhancements. It has some pretty nice, cool things there. Okay, one of the long missing features that have been in FreeBSD was the journaling of the file system, and UFS got now kind of journaling. It's been developed by Jeff Robertson, and he created some kind of small journal for the soft updates. So we didn't replace soft updates, we just extended it with the journal, and it allows us to recover from the unclean shutdown pretty quickly. The problem with this, the journaling with the sub updates is that if you have a big storage, say a terabyte, 1 terabyte, it's going to take like, I don't know, a long time to run the big round check. And by adding this journal, it takes several seconds to recover. If you use the new installer, BSD install, it's going to be enabled by default. We've got some news on the storage area. We've got a new ATA-CAM implementation. That means that most of the ATA disks are now handled by common access method to access the data on the drives, and that means that it's the access mode method is now very similar to SCSI, and that means also that the at rate is now obsolete. And that's why Alexander also wrote a geom rate, which supports most of the BIOS-based software rates. I think he's going to be able to give you more details on this stuff. And we also have a new HEST SATA driver, which supports features like NCQ and gains us better performance. From the security side of development, we have a new feature that's called Capsicum, and this is a new security capability sandbox framework, and it's been developed in the University of Cambridge by Robert Watson and his group. It's being sponsored by Google, and it kind of allows the processes to be separated from the other system process. And I don't know much about this, but it's supposed to be like something really cool. And one of I think key features of 9.0 is a project called Resource Containers. It's also a FreeBSD Foundation sponsored project, and it adds support for resource limits per jail, and that allows you to create some kind of very lightweight virtual machine running on the FreeBSD, so you can actually control how much CPU power or CPU time you give to each jail. So you can prevent the users of one jail to crash the host system and to kind of DOS the system. The problem is that it's still not part of the generic kernel, and I don't know the status of its stability, but I don't know, time will show. So well, there's much more new in the FreeBSD 9.0. There was a work on the CMP support. Now we can support more than 32 CPUs. We've got some new timer infrastructure that's going to be a base for the work for the Tickless kernel. We have USB 3.0 support, which we got even sooner than Linux. And we've got this new XHC driver that aims to kind of replace the old drivers. FreeBSD now can run on Amazon EC2, and we've got some work on the TCP/IP stack. It was focused on this SMP scalability. We've got some new congestion control algorithms, which were sponsored by Cisco and Juniper. There is some new performance measurement tool of the TCP/IP, and we also are focusing our efforts on the IP version 6. So now you can use FreeBSD as a IPv6 enabled device without having support for IP version 4. And we've got support for trim, which is pretty important for SSDs. And there's lots of more. You can read about them in the reports and this page there, which was written by Ivan Voras. And you can have a more detailed look at what's new there. And I hope you will have some experience with this new upcoming major release of FreeBSD, and you will enjoy it. So I think that's all, and you can have a few questions if you have.